6 years ago, a boy sat in a cluttered room, staring out at a crack in the sky that marked the end of the world. From that crack, a dark, tendril-like entity descended upon the city. But for him, this wasn't destruction, it was a beloved apocalypse arriving to save him. Students bustle about on a normal school morning, their conversations a low hum of everyday concerns. Standing apart from the crowd, Yutaka Kuramori overhears chatter about career surveys. As one girl mentions how hard it is to feel motivated, Yutaka quietly finds himself agreeing. One girl complains that her future can wait, as she'd rather focus on getting a boyfriend. Her friend teases her, wondering which will happen first, getting a boyfriend or the end of the world. Yutaka watches her go, noting to himself that she still isn't here. Suddenly, Aru Hoshino rushes past, flustered and late. Aru leaps from the walkway above. She calls out Yutaka's name without a hint of hesitation. Startled, he looks up to see her descending towards him. Aru lands squarely on Yutaka's back, cheerfully wishing him good morning as he complains that she's heavy. Yutaka asks why she can't just say good morning normally, but Aru playfully suggests he loves the excitement she brings. She insists there's no way she could ever let the guy she's dating be bored. A confused Yutaka asks who's dating who now, prompting Aru to say he's really going to make her say it. She beams and declares that, obviously, she's talking about the two of them. As they walk, Aru is greeted warmly by other students who call out her name. One classmate reminds her about an invitation to join the handball club. Another interjects, pointing out that the track team has also asked Aru to join them. Aru politely declines, explaining she won't be joining any clubs because she'll be too busy going on dates after school. Her friend Satu-chan pops up, suggesting Aru join the handicrafts club with her instead. Satu-chan insists that Aru would rather make stuffed animals with her than hang out with Yutaka. She shows off a cute bear keychain named Romeo-kun that she made herself. As they walk away, a group of boys begin to gossip about Yutaka Kuramori. They wonder why Aru, who didn't even go to the same middle school as him, would start dating him in high school. Hearing their comments, Aru begins to growl in frustration. Yutaka tells her to stop, but she demands to know why he isn't getting pissed off. He calmly replies that it's not as if their comments are wrong. The boys continue their mockery, concluding that Aru must have terrible taste in men. Yutaka turns and confronts the gossiping boys, who stammer in surprise. He clarifies that Aru is the one telling everyone they are dating, but it's not actually true. He then firmly warns them that while they can say what they want about him, he won't tolerate them badmouthing Aru. He tells them to be careful next time and walks away. Aru and her friends are left impressed by his actions. Aru smirks, teasingly asking if he was trying to score points with her, but he questions what he would even do with them. Aru playfully pokes Yutaka's cheek, calling him a nice guy as he flinches away. Overwhelmed, Yutaka announces he's grabbing a drink and quickly walks away, leaving Aru and her friends behind. His drink clunks out of the vending machine as he lets out a sigh. He reflects on how exhausting it is when Aru gets swarmed by crowds of people. He turns and is startled to find someone right behind him. He apologizes after nearly bumping into a janitor carrying a large stack of boxes. The janitor remarks that it was a close call. He recognizes Yutaka and dismisses his struggle with the boxes. Despite the man's assurances, Yutaka offers to lend a hand. The man accepts the offer with a smile, saying it's his bad. As they walk, the janitor asks how high school is, guessing Yutaka is kept on his toes with Aru around. Yutaka confirms it's definitely not boring. Yutaka senses the man wants something and asks him directly. Yutaka clarifies that while he doesn't mind helping, the man should just say what's on his mind. The janitor deflects, claiming he just fancied a chat and enjoys annoying young kids. He instructs Yutaka to dump the boxes. As Yutaka prepares to leave, the man thanks him, noting that he always ends up helping him out. The man offers a piece of advice, stating that not all girls like being easily won over, as some find it boring. Yutaka dismisses the comment, saying it doesn't matter. The man just smiles and says, "Is that right?" Later, the scene shifts to Yutaka and Aru arriving at an arcade. Aru effortlessly wins a racing game. She clears a shooter game while Yutaka gets a game over. She even gets the high score on a punching machine, much to Yutaka's amazement. Yutaka comments on her skill, and she proudly states she can do anything. Aru asks if Yutaka hasn't played much before, and he admits he's only played at friends' houses. To his surprise, Aru reveals she has never been to an arcade before either. Aru teases that she might have gone easier on him if she'd known, though she admits she probably wouldn't have. Yutaka suggests they find a game that isn't about winning or losing, spotting a candy scooping machine. Aru eagerly coaches him as he plays. Despite their efforts, they only manage to win 2 small chocolates. Yutaka thinks they've played enough, but Aru is already eager to decide what's next. Aru looks genuinely upset, worrying that if they leave on a bad note, he won't have had any fun. She fears this means he won't want to come to the arcade with her again. Surprised, Yutaka asks if that's all she's worried about, to which she retorts, "What do you mean, is that all?" He holds out his hand and offers her a piece of candy. He explains that since he only managed to get one for each of them, she should take it. Yutaka tells her they can try getting more next time, and she replies with a soft maybe. Visibly touched, Aru looks at him with a gentle expression. She declares she'll treasure the chocolate forever, though Yutaka suggests she might want to eat it sooner rather than later. Yutaka excuses himself to go to the restroom. When he returns, he's surprised to find she's no longer where he left her. He spots her in a nearby alley. Yutaka finds Aru crouching in an alley, facing a stray cat. Her expression is focused and intense. The cat hisses aggressively at her. As Yutaka calls out her name, the cat arches its back in fear. Aru watches sadly as the cat runs away. Aru comments with a hint of sadness that animals really don't seem to like her. She quickly brushes it off and tells Yutaka they should go. She invites him to come shopping with her. He apologizes, telling her he has other plans and should probably head home. Aru is taken aback, asking what kind of plans he could possibly have. Yutaka hesitantly tells her his plans are the secret kind. Aru's expression becomes distant as she quietly accepts his answer. Her mood shifts, and she coldly states that she understands his secret plans are more important than a date with her. Yutaka is shocked by her interpretation. He tries to protest that it wasn't even a date, but she cuts him off, saying it's fine and that she gets it. Aru continues her passive-aggressive remarks, saying that expecting him to tell her everything would be weird. She adds that this is especially true since, apparently, they aren't even dating. Yutaka tries to call out to her, but she's already turning away. She wishes him well and says she'll see him tomorrow, leaving him behind. As Aru walks down the street alone, she reflects on her conversation with Yutaka. She wonders if she teased him too much, but admits to herself she only does it because he's so cute when he gets flustered. She thinks that he shouldn't make that face, as it only makes her want to mess with him more. Aru smiles to herself, wanting him to think about her more and more. Suddenly, the cold barrel of a gun is pressed against Aru's temple. A man in a long coat confirms her identity as Aru Hoshina while his armed accomplices close in. The men order her not to move and to come with them quietly. Unfazed, Aru asks if they're real kidnappers for pulling guns out in the middle of the city. Aru notices that despite the commotion, passers-by walk by without a second glance. She wonders why no one is noticing the confrontation. She realizes they are inside a perception-blocking barrier, likely the paper talisman type. The leader smirks, taunting that her little boyfriend won't be coming to save her. Aru remains silent, surrounded by her armed captors. Meanwhile, Yutaka walks home, trying to convince himself that Aru was just messing with him. But he can't shake the memory of the hurt look on her face. He abruptly stops and turns around. Deciding he should explain things properly, he starts running back, hoping he can still catch up with her. Suddenly, something on the ground catches his eye. He spots the almond chocolate he gave Aru lying on the sidewalk. He knows with absolute certainty that Aru would never drop something he gave her. He curses under his breath, realizing something is terribly wrong. He immediately pulls out his phone and makes a call, apologizing for screwing up. Looking up at the sky, he frantically reports that he thinks Aru has been kidnapped. High atop an unfinished skyscraper, Aru has been taken. Her captors stand guard over her unconscious body. The leader asks about her condition. One of his men reports that the drugs should keep her unconscious for a while yet. The leader looks down at the bound Aru Hoshina, surprised they captured her so easily. He orders his man to dispose of the boy she was with, ensuring there are no loose ends. He scoffs at the incompetence of the immune system group, believing they couldn't be trusted with this task. He declares that his faction will save the world with their own hands. A voice from behind him remarks that they seem to be up to no good. Aru sits up, conscious and smiling, asking her captors to fill her in on what she's missed. The men panic, questioning how she's conscious, but one tries to calm the other, pointing out she's still restrained. Aru simply states that the restraints are pretty useless. She mockingly explains that they're meant for humans, and one of the men begins to tremble. Her smile widens as she recalls them talking about Yutaka earlier. She ominously warns them that this makes her angry, and she hopes for their sake. With a menacing grin, Aru confirms they haven't laid a single finger on Yutaka. The leader, terrified, screams for his men to shoot her. But as dark tendrils erupt from her body, she asks if they think their lives are enough to pay for what they planned. A van speeds through the city, its driver confirming over a radio that they are en route to the scene. Satu-chan reacts with disbelief. She turns to Yutaka and calls him pathetic for allowing Aru to be kidnapped, but the driver tells her to go easy on him. The driver notes that it isn't Yutaka's job to be her bodyguard, but Satu insists he should still be able to protect her. Yutaka sits silently in the back seat. Satu checks her phone, confirming she has pinpointed Aru's location based on coordinates. She identifies the building as a high-rise scheduled for demolition in the distance. Just then, a massive explosion erupts from the top of that very building. The group in the van watches the unfolding chaos in awe. Yutaka points out that something is happening on the top floor. Satu realizes this means it's where Aru is, while the driver sighs in resignation. A massive, dark, tendril-like structure erupts from the building. A crowd gathers below the building, with some murmuring that the world is surely done for now. From the van, Satu looks on, remarking that the scene takes her right back to 6 years ago. Yutaka watches the building with grim determination. The police quickly arrive and begin evacuating civilians from the area. Yutaka gets out of the van as it stopped at the police line. He stares up at the chaotic scene unfolding atop the skyscraper, knowing this is it. The driver confirms they will stand by. Satu gets an update that the assault team is en route, but still 15 minutes out. Satu turns to find Yutaka gone, frantically asking where he is. The driver points him out, already heading up the building's emergency staircase. Satu panics, asking why he would let Yutaka go into such a reckless situation, but the driver calmly states he couldn't possibly stop a man heading into battle. Frustrated, Satu decides she'll have to provide support herself and begins preparing something. Yutaka, meanwhile, is dismissed as a tsundere. The dark entity continues to writhe atop the building. Yutaka races up the endless flights of stairs. His only thought is for Aru, hoping that she's okay. Suddenly, a hail of bullets erupts around him, forcing him to duck for cover. He looks up to find an armed guard blocking the stairs, ordering him to stop. Yutaka realizes with dread that the guard is armed. The guard recognizes Yutaka as the boy who was with Aru, mockingly asking if he's there to rescue his girlfriend. Yutaka ignores the taunt and demands the guard give Aru back, knowing she's further up. The guard refuses, stating that no one gets by until their righteous mission is accomplished. Yutaka scoffs at the idea of a righteous mission. He inches forward, preparing to make a move. The guard warns Yutaka not to move. He promises that the next shot won't miss. Yutaka realizes the gun is real and feels the urgency to get to Aru fast. He considers forcing his way past, but the guard tells him not to think about it. The guard tells him there's no point in throwing his life away, especially for a monster wearing human skin. Yutaka is taken aback by the statement. The guard asks if Yutaka truly has any idea what his little girlfriend is. The guard reminds Yutaka of the events from 6 years ago. He describes the giant hole that cracked open the sky, pouring out a pitch darkness. He recounts how hundreds of people in their city alone died, twisted into inhuman forms before they perished. This same event occurred in major cities all over the world, and if it continues, the terminal episode will be upon them. The guard reveals the terrible truth. The root cause of all this death is Aru Hoshina. Yutaka stares in disbelief, asking what his point is. The guard calls her an evil monster who ruined the world and asks if Yutaka is still willing to risk his life for her. Yutaka furiously tells him to stop talking as if he knows anything, shouting that he knows nothing about Aru. He declares that he doesn't care about the world or the outbreak, all that matters is that he gets to Aru. With renewed determination, Yutaka shouts for the guard to let him through. He stomps his foot and charges up the stairs. The guard calls him an idiot and raises his weapon to fire. Before the guard can shoot, a stuffed teddy bear flies through the air and slams into his head. The guard is knocked out cold, wondering how a stuffed animal could hit so hard. Yutaka stares in shock, recognizing the bear as Satu-chan's. Yutaka thanks the bear, confirming its name is Romeo. Another explosion shakes the building from above. He tells Romeo that he's counting on him and that they need to hurry. It all began 16 years ago, the year that they were both born. Cracks first appeared in the sky, forewarning the end of the world, turning into holes 6 years ago. Otherworldly voids descended from the skies and swallowed up various places around the world. Since that day of outbreak, the disease infecting and consuming the world has never stopped spreading. And the one who brought that disease to the world was waiting just beyond the door. Yutaka reaches the top floor to find a surreal scene of destruction, with debris floating against a backdrop of stars. He looks around the wrecked room in shock. He walks past the unconscious bodies of the kidnappers. His face bruised, he calls out her name, Aru. He sees her standing by the gaping hole in the building's wall, looking out at the city. She is floating, her body entwined with strange, pulsating tendrils that stretch out into the darkness. Yutaka calls out to Aru. He tells her that he's here to get her. She turns around, her monstrous features visible, but her expression is one of pure joy as she shouts his name. This is Aru Hoshina, a planet-corrupting pathogen originally not of this world. She is a zero-class hostile foreign body. She casually complains to Yutaka about how her captors drugged, tied up, and even shot at her. When Yutaka asks if she's hurt, she dismisses it, saying things like that don't bother her much. Aru then notices the scrapes on Yutaka's face and grabs him. Her face contorts with rage as she demands to know who hurt him. Yutaka realizes that if she gets truly mad, the damage will spread far beyond this building. He quickly reassures her that he's fine and not to worry. He explains he probably just got caught in her rampage, and she apologizes sheepishly. He tells her that anyway, he's just glad she's safe. Yutaka looks over the unconscious bodies and remarks that she still made quite a mess. Aru argues they got off lightly since they tried to kill her, and asks if he shouldn't be praising her. One of the men on the floor groans as a tendril pokes his mask. Yutaka thinks for a moment. He concedes that she did hold back a fair bit, which pleases her. Aru wraps her tendrils around Yutaka, demanding more praise. He notes that in this form her emotions are even more intense. He worries that he smells like sweat. Aru notes that the agency will be there any minute, and suggests they put on a show for them, an idea Yutaka flatly rejects. Aru comments on the surreal view from inside the void. She stands with Yutaka, wondering if this is what the end of the world will be like. Yutaka admits that he actually quite likes the view. He agrees with her, finding it pretty and even calming for some reason. Remembering the dropped candy, Yutaka rummages in his pocket. He pulls out the coffee-flavored chocolate and tells her she dropped it. She's confused, thinking hers was the almond one, just as Yutaka pops the almond chocolate into his own mouth. She pouts that he always does this kind of thing, but he tells her she's not getting the one she dropped. She admits that eating something sweet has calmed her down a bit. Yutaka simply replies, "Good." Outside, the dark void recedes as things begin to return to normal. Aru's monstrous features fade as she, too, returns to her normal self. Satu-chan arrives, calling out to Aru in relief. She runs towards them, followed by armed UIS agents. Agents take the last of the perpetrators into custody. Satu rushes to Aru, relieved that she isn't hurt. A researcher insists Aru get a medical checkup as a precaution, though she finds it a pain. Satu thanks her teddy bear, Romeo, and her keychain, Chuck, for their hard work. She explains to a surprised Yutaka that they were able to find Aru by tracking Chuck's location. Satu teases Yutaka, asking if the power of love fueled his reckless charge into the building. A flustered Yutaka quickly denies it. He tries to explain that he just felt it was his responsibility, so he had to go. Satu sighs, speculating that Aru only allowed herself to get kidnapped to get his attention anyway. As he's led away, the kidnapper's leader mutters that he finally understands why the agency hasn't just killed Aru Hoshina. Aru states that it's not that they're afraid, it's simply impossible. The man questions humanity's future, asking if they are doomed to live in perpetual fear. Satu scoffs, telling him that his group is the one who unnecessarily put the city in danger. The researcher explains that the agency is researching ways to detoxify Aru, telling the man's group to stay out of it. Watching the cleanup, Satu agrees with a worker that their job seems endless. She also worries about the fact that Aru now has a boyfriend. When a worker teases her about feeling lonely, she vehemently denies it. She explains she's more worried about trusting the fate of the world to someone like Yutaka, who admits there's not much he can do. Just then, Aru appears, calling out to Yutaka. She cheerfully announces that they've been cleared to go home. As they walk home, Aru apologizes for ruining Yutaka's plans, but he tells her it's fine. He reveals that his plans were to do with her in the first place. He admits he was planning on going through bodyguard training. Aru asks if the training was for guarding her, and Yutaka becomes flustered. Aru is delighted and hopes more guys like today's show up so she can see his stronger side, an idea Yutaka quickly shoots down. Yutaka reflects that he's no bodyguard. His real job is more like keeping Aru in a good mood. After all, one bad mood from her could mean humanity is gone in the blink of an eye. He's there to calm her and push back the crisis. He muses that a real pain in the neck has taken a liking to him. Aru turns to him, about to say something. Aru teases him, saying he's actually quite into her. She calls even the way he blushes cute, though he denies blushing at all. She takes his hand in hers. With a knowing smile, she tells him that if he wants to protect the world, he just has to make her happy. Yutaka is silent for a moment. He then admits that, to be honest, he's not really bothered about saving the world, which surprises Aru. He acknowledges that his girlfriend is the enemy of the world. But if you can look past that, he thinks to himself, she's still incredibly cute. Aru Hashino is unhappily summoned to the student guidance room. She insists she hasn't done anything wrong, but a faculty member points out her non-regulation uniform. Aru cheekily replies that she just looks better in black, much to the teacher's annoyance. As she's dragged off, Aru calls out to Yutaka, calling the teacher heartless. After she leaves, Yutaka is approached by a classmate. The classmate asks him directly if the rumors are true, and he's really dating Aru. Yutaka's friends grill him, jealous and curious about how he got together with Aru. He tries to downplay it, claiming it was nothing more than timing and coincidence. His friend urges him to take it seriously and listen. The friend's warning echoes in his mind. Aru can have anyone, and if Yutaka becomes boring, it will be the end for them. His friend slaps him on the back, telling him to step up his game. Alone with his thoughts, Yutaka contemplates the possibility of Aru losing interest. Yutaka waits patiently outside a suburban home. The nameplate on the gate reads Hoshina. From inside, Aru can be heard stomping around, yelling for her sister Rui and asking where her phone is. Rui coolly replies from the bathroom, telling Aru to ring the phone herself. Aru finds her phone vibrating on the bathroom counter. As she heads out the door, Aru calls out to her mother, who wishes her well. Aru emerges from the house, brightly thanking Yutaka for waiting for her. She asks what's on his mind, but he seems distracted. Yutaka tries to begin speaking, but trails off. He's startled by the sight of someone peering at him from inside the house. It's Aru's sister Rui, who gives Yutaka an intense, disapproving stare. Yutaka is taken aback and can only manage a quiet hello. Rui says nothing, slamming the door shut. Aru nonchalantly calls back to her sister to lock the door. She explains to Yutaka that Rui is just a siskin and was hilariously upset to learn Aru had a boyfriend. When Aru asks what he was going to say, Yutaka is too surprised to answer. He brushes it off, saying it was nothing important as they walk away. Yutaka reflects on how surprisingly normal Aru's family felt. He reminds himself that it's because they are unaware of what Aru truly is. 6 years ago, on the day of onset, a strange darkness appeared. This darkness flowed from holes in the sky, bringing destruction to various parts of the world. In their city, a 2-kilometer radius around an elementary school was consumed by the darkness. In response to the worldwide abnormalities, governments united to form the Universal Immune System. Aru and Yutaka arrive at the organization's vast headquarters. At the security checkpoint, a guard salutes Aru and waves her through. Meanwhile, Yutaka has to undergo a standard security scan. Aru playfully asks why he can't just get through with facial recognition, but he reminds her he's not a VIP like she is. A guard watches them, looking tense as Aru playfully teases Yutaka. Yutaka reflects that the guard's tension is justified. Offending Aru could cause a global emergency. He realizes her lack of a search isn't VIP treatment, but a recognition that weapons wouldn't alter her threat level. She is Hoshina Aru, the largest foreign body to invade the world and the source of its crisis. Aru cheerfully announces their arrival at Laboratory 2. Professor Ibe, also known as Kyoko, greets them with a smile. Yutaka politely greets the professor. Kyoko compliments Aru's cute outfit, which delights Aru. Aru gives Yutaka a quick glance as she chats with the professor. Aru tells Professor Ibe they're on a date after her checkup and to hurry. Yutaka downplays it as just a movie, but Aru insists it's a date. The professor teases Yutaka for his timidness. She gives him a friendly warning, saying she's known Aru since she was little and won't forgive him if he makes her cry. Aru grows impatient, wanting to get the exam over with. Yutaka decides to leave to submit his paperwork. Suddenly, an emergency alarm sounds, halting everything. Agency personnel report an abnormal space, a tumor, has formed in Kajiba City, and all standby staff are being dispatched. The word tumors catches Yutaka's attention. These infernal spaces, or tumors, have been appearing around the world since the outbreak 6 years prior. Professor Ibe realizes she's being called in as well. She explains to a surprised Aru that it's a rare chance to collect samples on a Sunday. The professor apologizes, canceling Aru's checkup and waving goodbye as she heads out. Since their plans were cancelled, Aru and Yutaka spend time in the city. Yutaka asks if they went to HQ for nothing, but Aru says emergency dispatches can't be helped. He wonders if Aru could have helped with the tumor. Aru vehemently denies it, saying she's not skilled enough to get rid of tumors. She jokes that she's better suited for fighting giant monsters, a claim Yutaka questions. Their conversation is interrupted by Yutaka's phone vibrating. He tells a curious Aru that it's a message from Sato-san. Yutaka relays the message from Sato-san. Aru's regular security detail was reassigned to the tumor, so Sato is taking over. Aru remarks that Sato has it rough, but Yutaka reminds her it's because of her. Aru types an invitation for Sato to join them. Sato passes on the offer, and Yutaka realizes she is listening in via the keychain. Yutaka asks if the constant surveillance bothers her, but Aru replies that she's used to it after 6 years. Her good mood suddenly sours as she looks at her phone. Aru shows Yutaka that their planned cinema is closed due to its proximity to the newly formed tumor. Yutaka confirms that with public transport also down, other cinemas are out of the question. Aru decides they should just relax and order dessert. However, the waiter informs her that what she wanted is sold out. Aru sips her drink, clearly disappointed by the string of bad luck. She gets up to get another drink, leaving Yutaka to watch her go. An imaginary Aru appears in Yutaka's mind, accusing him of ruining the date and warning that if he's boring, the world is doomed. He feels the weight of his perceived failure, thinking he's boring. As Aru returns to the table, he nervously tries to think of something. His phone vibrates, offering a lifeline. It's a message from Sato-san, suggesting a nearby crepe shop. Feeling a surge of hope, Yutaka quickly asks Aru if she wants to go for crepes. He explains that there's a popular shop just a short walk away, piquing her interest. Aru's mood instantly lifts, and she eagerly accepts the offer. Yutaka breathes a sigh of relief and offers to treat her. Aru is surprised by the offer and asks him why. He explains that the day has been unlucky, and he wants her to have some fun, though she notes they've both had bad luck. She finds it strange that he's the one trying to cheer her up, when she's not the only one having a bad day. Yutaka insists that wanting to cheer her up is only natural. Aru questions his reasoning, asking if it's just because he's a guy. She then asks if it's because of his job from the organization, and he admits that's part of it. His answer clearly dissatisfies her, and she glares at him. Yutaka is taken aback by her intense reaction. She dismisses it with a fine whatever, but Yutaka calls after her. He changes the subject, determinedly suggesting they go for crepes. At the site, an assistant briefs Professor Ibe on the tumor, noting it was about 5 meters in diameter but is now shrinking. The area has been secured, and evacuations are proceeding smoothly. Professor Ibe suggests it might be on course for a natural disappearance, much to her assistant's surprise. Still, she decides to send a drone in for a closer look, just to be safe. Yutaka and Aru sit at an outdoor crepe stand. Aru happily eats her crepe. Yutaka, however, is still worrying about the pressure of keeping Aru entertained to save the world. He wonders how to make a girl happy on a date, especially one who wouldn't be satisfied with ordinary things. He admits to himself that he has no idea. Unseen by them, Sato-chan is watching from the bushes. She seems to be observing their date closely. Yutaka watches another couple happily sharing food. He turns to Aru, who seems to be in her own world. Taking a chance, he offers her a bite of his crepe. She eyes him suspiciously, asking if this is part of his job. He clarifies that it's just a trade because he wants to try hers. She agrees. Without hesitation, she leans in and takes a big bite, startling Yutaka. Aru savors the bite, commenting that the classic choco banana is delicious. She then offers her crepe to him, saying it's his turn. After a hesitant bite, Yutaka finds her combination of matcha tiramisu and warabimachi a bit overwhelming. He remarks that she always picks the weirdest combinations, and she happily agrees that he knows her so well. Aru lets out a happy giggle, genuinely pleased. Aru wonders what they should do next, while the ominous crack in the sky remains. She playfully teases Yutaka when he comes up with nothing. He protests that he has been trying to think of things. He explains that it's hard to find fun, cheap places within walking distance. Feeling defeated, he blurts out an apology for being so boring. Aru reaches out and calls his name. She gently cups his face, reassuring him that she never said he was boring. She asks him what he's so worked up about. She realizes he's scared of disappointing her. She correctly guesses he's afraid she will dump him, leaving him speechless. With a slight, knowing smile, she contemplates his fear. She lets go of his face, having made her point. Aru suggests he take her to a place he often visits. Yutaka explains the only place he really goes is the park during his morning run. Aru immediately agrees, telling him that's fine and they should go. He tries to warn her it's not interesting, but she insists that's not true. She dismisses his protests, stating she's not buying it. The survey drone whirs as it approaches and enters the dark mass of the tumor. The team on the ground prepares for containment, expecting it to be a smooth operation. The assistant brings the drone's camera feed online. Professor Ibe notes that the space inside looks much larger than it appeared from the outside. Her assistant finds the atmospheric data strange. The professor initially suspects an instrument malfunction. However, upon reviewing the data herself, she realizes this is something else entirely. Yutaka takes Aru to the park he passes through on his morning runs. Aru points out that the lilacs are blooming. Yutaka can only identify them as the purple ones. Aru is surprised he doesn't know their names despite coming here often, and she offers to teach him. As they walk, she points out various flowers, surprising Yutaka with her knowledge, though he teases that she doesn't look the part. Yutaka quietly wonders if Aru has cheered up. He tells her not to feel obligated to cheer him up. She replies that she wouldn't date a guy who was smooth like that anyway, which Yutaka finds hardly reassuring. She elaborates, saying she likes people who are awkward at humaning. She clarifies that she likes people who try their best to be human, even if they aren't naturally good at it. Yutaka wonders if her preference is because she is only half human herself. Taking his hand, she smiles brightly and says that's exactly why she likes him. She confesses that everything is fun when she's with him. Their hands are clasped together as they walk. Yutaka is touched and flustered by her sincere words. Yutaka marvels at how easily she can say such things to his face. Aru declares her love for him, saying that being with him makes her truly happy and she wants to spend her life with him. He teases that saying it too much might make it sound insincere, and she laughs. Meanwhile, the tumor begins to bulge and expand rapidly, with HERS levels rising far beyond the threshold. The on-site team loses communication with HQ and orders an evacuation. Professor Ibe is urged to hurry as the anomaly threatens to engulf them all. Yutaka's expression suddenly becomes serious. He turns to Aru and asks to borrow her bag for a moment. At the sight, Professor Ibe watches in horror as the tumor grows uncontrollably, realizing it will soon engulf more than just the city. Her assistant cries out her name in panic. Back in the park, Yutaka takes a deep, determined breath. Yutaka suddenly yells and shoves the keychain deep inside the bag. Satu-chan, listening in from the bushes, is startled by the loud noise. He explains to a confused Aru that it was to stop Satu-san from eavesdropping. He looks at her seriously, stating that what he wants to say is not part of his job. He squeezes the muffled keychain to make sure. Finally, with a genuine smile, he tells her that her outfit is really cute. Aru is completely taken aback, her face flushing red at the sincere compliment. Professor Ibe looks up, confused by the sudden change. Her assistant helps her up, reporting that the tumor is gone. The once threatening tumor has completely disappeared, as has the crack in the sky. The team confirms the tumor's response is a complete disappearance, with all levels returning to normal. Professor Ibe remarks that she's never seen such an abrupt case of natural disappearance. She looks toward the sky, wondering if there was another cause. Back in the park, Aru asks Yutaka what's gotten into him. He nonchalantly claims he was just in the mood to say it. Aru playfully chases him, begging him to say it one more time while he repeatedly refuses. Aru internally panics at the thought of Yutaka becoming a super sweet boyfriend, though she thinks there's no chance. Yutaka confesses that being with her makes him feel like he's changing. His confession leaves a deep impression on Aru. As they walk under the flowering trees, she tells him she likes that feeling a lot. The next day, students arrive at school as usual. Aru cheerfully greets Satu-chan, asking if her ears have recovered from Yutaka's shouting. Satu laments missing Yutaka's supposed passionate speech, which he vehemently denies ever happened. Satu quietly connects the timing of the tumor's disappearance with that moment. Aru thanks Satu for the crepe recommendation. Satu is flustered, realizing Aru knew she was the one who sent the suggestion. As Aru possessively tells Yutaka not to talk to other girls on dates, Satu wonders about the fate of a world that depends on them. While walking home with his groceries, Yutaka Kuramori reflects on his successful shopping trip. He is pleased with his half-price bento, thinking to himself that it's a good day. His peaceful walk is interrupted when he notices a crowd gathering in an alley, and he stops to see what the commotion is about. He sees a large white dog growling aggressively, its body writhing with a dark foreign substance, while its owner cries out in distress. The crowd murmurs about the dangerous sight and wonders if the authorities have been called, while Yutaka notes it looks like it's been infected by a foreign body. Yutaka warns the owner to get back. She hesitates, frozen with concern as the dark mass on the dog's back bulges grotesquely. The creature lets out a monstrous howl. It lunges, startling Yutaka and the dog's owner. The beast knocks Yutaka to the ground. Pinned beneath the beast, he realizes the grave danger he's in. Just as the onlookers watch in horror, a calm voice cuts through the chaos, asking to be let through. A young woman, Haruki Kitakuji, steps forward. She holds a paper talisman and calmly chants an incantation. The enraged beast hesitates, turning its attention from Yutaka to her. She completes her chant, preparing to act. With a final command, Haruki unleashes her power, tearing the dark foreign body from the dog in a flash. The substance dissipates into nothing. Yutaka watches in stunned silence. The dog, now back to normal, pants harmlessly. Its relieved owner rushes to its side. Yutaka realizes the foreign body has vanished and the dog is back to normal. Haruki approaches Yutaka and gently brushes his forehead. She asks if he is unharmed. As the dog's grateful owner bows, Haruki walks with Yutaka. She tells him that the dog was kind and wouldn't hurt anyone, and that being possessed must have been frightening. She also compliments his courage. Yutaka, still processing what he saw, asks who she is and what she just did. Haruki suddenly steps close to Yutaka, startling him as she sniffs his shirt. He jumps back, demanding to know what she's doing. She explains that he has the lingering scent of an oni on him, not the one she just exorcised, but something far more powerful. She deduces that he must be by its side on a daily basis. A woman in a suit approaches, addressing Haruki as Ajasama. The attendant confirms Haruki is unharmed, and Haruki replies that she is fine. Haruki mentions an unexpected yield as she glances at Yutaka. They bid him farewell and depart in a black car. A bewildered Yutaka is left to wonder who they were. Aru is disappointed she missed seeing the pretty girl ability user. Aru playfully asks Yutaka if the girl was cuter than her, while he insists he never said she was pretty. She demands he just say she's cuter. Sato-chan wonders who the girl could be. Learning that Sato-chan doesn't know her either, Aru concludes she's not part of the immune system. Yutaka asks if there are really ability users outside the system, and Aru confirms there are. Sato-chan explains that while the current surge in phenomena is due to Aru, foreign bodies have existed for ages. She adds that people who can exorcise or control them, like psychics and prophets, have also long existed. Aru playfully tickles a distracted Yutaka with a paintbrush, while Sato-chan notes there must be plenty of freelance ability users. Later, the conversation shifts as Aru teases Yutaka about his praised, abstract bench painting, which he insists was meant to be a drinking fountain. Yutaka dismisses his artistic skill, saying that's just his level since he never draws outside of class. When he turns back after their conversation, he finds Aru is gone. He calls her name, looking down the eerily empty street. He calls for her, wondering where she went. He realizes the street has suddenly become empty of all pedestrians. A voice from behind addresses him as Kuramori Yutaka-san. Yutaka turns to see Haruki from the day before, standing by the same black car. He recognizes her immediately. She apologizes for the abrupt invitation. She explains that she has something important to discuss with him regarding Hoshina Aru. Haruki gestures for him to get into the car. Yutaka sits uneasily beside Haruki in the back of the car. She formally introduces herself as Kitakoji Haruki, heir to a prestigious family of Onmyoji. Yutaka recognizes the term. He associates it with divination and the control of Shikigami, which pleases Haruki. Haruki explains that her family has been quietly solving supernatural issues long before it became public knowledge. She notes that while the immune system now handles things openly, her family's mission hasn't changed. Yutaka asks what their mission is. Their mission is to protect the peace of the country and quell disasters that disturb it. Yutaka grows tense and asks if she plans to kill Aru. Haruki calmly says no, clarifying that the discussion is about how she might be able to save Aru. Haruki acknowledges that the immune system's research to detoxify Aru has yielded no results. She offers to lend Yutaka her family's power, passed down for a millennium. She reminds him of the jutsu he witnessed her use on the dog. Haruki explains she can use it to remove the foreign body from Aru and turn her back into a normal human girl. Yutaka is stunned at the thought of Aru becoming normal. She adds that his proximity to Aru puts him in grave danger as well. Before Yutaka can react, Haruki suddenly lunges toward him. She tells him to hold still. She presses a paper talisman to his forehead. Haruki begins to chant an incantation. A dark, creeping symbol appears on the paper, much to his shock. Haruki pulls the talisman away, which has now absorbed a dark, writhing substance from Yutaka, remarking on how awful it is. She explains that the impurity he accumulated from being near Aru was transferred to the talisman, which she then burns. She warns him that if things continue, he could end up consumed by it himself. Yutaka is left speechless by the demonstration. Her attendant expresses hesitation about giving so much charity to a stranger. Haruki asserts that she believes Yutaka is trustworthy, though she chides her attendant for starting a fire in the car. Getting uncomfortably close, Haruki explains that the Oni within Aru is powerful, and she needs his cooperation as the person closest to her. She presses him for his help, but the flustered Yutaka just asks for some personal space. Suddenly, the car is struck with a massive impact. Everyone is thrown forward by the force of the crash, and Haruki lets out a small cry. The driver screeches to a halt. As Yutaka looks out the open door, a familiar voice says, "Found you." Aru stands atop the dented hood of the car, announcing she's come to get Yutaka. He calls out her name in surprise as Haruki looks on. Aru explains she had intended to let him wander in the barrier she created for a while longer. Haruki, holding a tattered paper doll, realizes Aru is referring to the barrier she just broke. Aru confronts Haruki, asking what she did to Yutaka. Haruki calmly states she simply peeled away some of the scent Aru had placed on him, which annoys Aru. Aru grabs a startled Yutaka. She warns Haruki not to interfere. She declares that if her scent is gone, she'll just have to dye him in her color again. Yutaka protests, telling Aru to wait. He complains that her grip is painful. Dark tendrils wrap around Yutaka as Aru pulls him close, chiding him for being careless. Leaning in, she possessively asks if he realizes that he belongs to her. Haruki is aghast at the display, calling Aru improper and shameless, while Aru calls her a cat thief. Realizing Haruki was the pretty girl they discussed, Aru asks what she wants with Yutaka, while Haruki thanks her for the compliment. Haruki ignores her and addresses Aru directly, stating she came to help her. She declares her intention to turn Aru into a human. Aru just smirks, repeating the offer with disdain. Aru flatly refuses. She asks why Haruki would think she'd be happy becoming human. Haruki calls her arrogant. Yutaka sheepishly admits that this reaction was expected. Haruki, shocked, turns to Yutaka and asks if he doesn't want Aru to become human. He replies that if Aru herself doesn't want it, it's not his place to say. Haruki presses, asking why not if he truly cares for her. But Yutaka cuts her off, stating he knows Aru far better than she does. Seeing she won't get his consent, Haruki prepares to act. She declares that she can use force. Haruki unleashes an attack of paper shikigami, but they are effortlessly destroyed by Aru's dark power before they can reach her. The paper tatters and falls as Haruki watches. Aru smirks, asking if she just tried something. She remarks that since Haruki threw the first punch, she should respond. Yutaka holds her back, calling her name. Yutaka tells Aru to stop, asking if she can't hold back. He tells her to hurry and hide her tendrils. Their commotion has drawn a crowd, who are murmuring about the dented car. Haruki notes that the barrier is broken, drawing unwanted attention. Her attendant suggests they leave for the day, and Aru scoffs at the idea of them returning. Aru taunts Haruki, saying she didn't realize she was so weak as to not recognize the power gap between them. Haruki retorts that it's not about power. She vows to fulfill her duty as a Kita Koji. She departs, promising they will meet again. Aru grumbles about the hoity-toity girl. She scolds Yutaka for getting into a stranger's car, but he defends Haruki, saying she didn't seem like a bad person. Aru jokes that if it were her, she would have just abducted him. She adds that as his girlfriend, she can legally do whatever she wants, causing Yutaka to complain that she's being too clingy. He suggests she could be a little more shy, and she pouts. Aru suddenly asks Yutaka what kind of girls he's into. Flustered, he asks why she's asking now. She presses on, wondering if he'd prefer someone more refined like Haruki. Yutaka thinks for a moment. He eagerly asks what she would do if he said yes, catching her off guard. Aru is caught off guard, clenching her fist as she stammers that in that case, maybe she would try to be more refined. Seeing her reaction, Yutaka pauses. He then ruffles her hair. She is startled by the sudden affection. She demands he pet her more, and he jokingly asks if she's a dog, feeling an overwhelming urge to caress her. She complains that he's messing up her hair, but he points out how happy she looks. In a sterile office, Yutaka Kuramori stands before the chairman of the Universal Immune System. The woman, her face partially obscured by an eye patch, cuts straight to a startlingly personal question: does he love Hoshina Aru? Yutaka retorts, questioning if the chairman truly has nothing better to do with her time. A man in a janitor's uniform interjects, claiming it's his duty as Yutaka's leader to be informed about his romance. The chairman adds her own cryptic belief that love might just save the world. Yutaka remains silent and unimpressed. She presses Yutaka to share the story of how he and Aru met, but he dismisses the idea. He states firmly that their story is something private, meant only for the two of them to know. The story flashes back to approximately 1 month ago. A neighbor remarks on his dedication, seeing him run even on the day of his school entrance ceremony. Yutaka dismisses it as simple force of habit. He reflects on his past. On the day of the onset, his mother never returned. Since then, he has lived at the Kajiba House Children's Home. He feels as though he is merely existing, not truly living, still undecided on whether to keep moving forward. As he runs, Yutaka looks up at the ominous black hole in the sky, thinking that he is waiting for it to bring about the end. His thoughts are interrupted when he spots something strange on the massive wall that contains their city. He squints, realizing with a start that it's a person. The figure on the wall falls, tumbling down towards the city below. He runs toward the area where he thinks they landed. Yutaka finds himself at the entrance to a narrow alleyway. Yutaka lets out a cry of shock. In the alley lies a gruesome scene, a mangled creature oozing a dark, viscous substance. He stumbles back, wondering what he's just witnessed. His heart thumps in his chest as he tries to comprehend the grotesque sight. He hears a noise and turns to see the figure from the wall standing there, groaning in pain. The figure that fell is a girl, her body intertwined with a dark, monstrous entity. Yutaka can only watch, frozen in place. Her face is a mass of swirling darkness and multiple, unnerving eyes. She smashes the creature against the ground, silencing it with a sickening splat. The girl collapses onto the ground near Yutaka. His heart pounds with fear. A dark tendril slithers towards his face. She suddenly thrusts herself forward. Her face, a void filled with eyes, is now inches from his own. The girl glares at a confused Yutaka. They stare at each other for a tense moment. In the distance, a voice over a communication line asks for a response from where an alarm was triggered. Her tendrils suddenly wave him away as if shooing him. Realizing she's telling him to leave, Yutaka sits in shock for a moment. He then flees the scene as voices order a cleanup crew to hurry. Later, at the school entrance ceremony, he can't stop thinking about the encounter. He overhears other students talking about foreign bodies turning people into monsters. But Yutaka knows what he saw was different. He recalls the creature's dark form, the same color as the hole in the sky. During roll call, Yutaka gasps and stands when his name is called. A moment later, a clatter draws his attention. A girl with long, light hair looks startled as she is called upon. Other students wonder who she is. The announcer calls her name, Hoshina Aru, and Yutaka recognizes her instantly. Aru answers here, her voice tired. Later in class, she is quickly surrounded by curious classmates. Yutaka sits a few rows behind, absorbed in a book. Still, he can't help but glance her way. When Aru notices Yutaka looking, she gives him a startled look. She then turns away with a snub. Yutaka is left wondering what's wrong with her. Later, as Yutaka is leaving, he sees Aru in the hallway. He watches as a male classmate approaches Aru. The classmate asks her to go to karaoke, and Aru agrees, asking if he's inviting everyone. The classmate suggests it would be fine if it were just the two of them. Aru deflects by mentioning another friend would want to go. Seeing an opportunity, Yutaka approaches with a wastebasket, asking Aru if she knows where the trash area is. She gives him an annoyed look. She curtly tells him to follow her and leads him off. Aru irritably tells Yutaka he should know where the trash is and to go by himself. Confused, he explains he was trying to help her escape the awkward situation and apologizes, but she tells him to just leave her alone. Yutaka asks what he's done to her, pointing out they've only just met. The phrase seems to strike a nerve with Aru. She turns and angrily tells him to never talk to her again. Yutaka is left wondering why she hates him so much. Yutaka reflects that he's never been particularly liked or hated by anyone. He wonders if maybe he's been hated since the moment he was born. He recalls his mother's cruel question, "Why were you even born?" He thinks that he should be the one asking that question. As he throws the trash away, he wishes he could be disposed of just as easily. On a school rooftop, a blonde girl expresses surprise at seeing a man also undercover at the high school. The man, dressed as a janitor, remarks that he pulls off the look well. He asks about the princess's condition. The girl reports that she is enraged, with the frequency of her tumor formation and aggressive impulses increasing. The janitor asks if she rampaged again that morning, cynically noting it would be easier if those guys just killed her. The girl sighs, hoping Aru's new life at school doesn't cause unnecessary drama. She specifically worries about a new encounter. The scene pans to Aru, alone on the wall looking out at the sky. Yutaka and Aru are assigned library duty together, carrying stacks of books. Yutaka thinks to himself how unlucky he is to be paired with Hoshina. He notices her leaning against a bookshelf, breathing heavily. He asks if she's feeling sick. She snaps at him to shut up and not look at her. Yutaka suggests she go to the nurse's office, telling her she looks like she's in pain. He notices a strange, dark substance forming on her hand. She seems to be in distress. As he reaches out, she violently slaps his hand away, yelling at him not to touch her. He calls out to her as she wobbles unsteadily. Aru insists she's fine and tells Yutaka to leave her alone. She demands he stop the nice guy act. Her words finally make Yutaka angry. He retorts that he gets it, she hates him. He grabs her hand, declaring that if she already hates him, he'll just do what he wants and pulls her along. Aru is stunned by his sudden action. Aru looks shocked and overwhelmed. She whispers no more, her face hidden by her hair. Yutaka feels an overwhelming force, realizing he can't fight it as strange shadows appear on the wall. Dark tendrils suddenly erupt from Aru's body. The dark tendrils wrap around Yutaka, pinning him against a bookshelf as Aru holds him. He stares at Aru, whose face is once again a swirling mass of eyes and darkness. Panting, she looks back at him, as he realizes the monstrous girl he saw in the alley was her all along. Aru confesses she's been trying so hard to hold it in. She admits that she doesn't know why, but his face has bugged her from the moment she saw him. Yutaka, seeing a vision of the creature from the alley, feels a chill as he wonders if he'll end up like that too. Aru leans in and asks if he knows why foreign bodies attack. It's because they're lonely. She explains that they hurt, invade, and distort living things, trying to turn them into the same form as themselves. Yutaka realizes that if she did that to him, a human, he would die. Aru looks at him with her many eyes and menacingly asks, "Can I?" Yutaka feels himself falling through an endless void. As he is enveloped by the darkness, he wonders if he's about to die. To his own surprise, he finds that he's fine with it. He feels like he's inside the hole in the sky. Through their connection, Yutaka begins to feel Aru's emotions, the feeling of being shunned, the loneliness of being with others, all emotions he is familiar with, stemming from the belief that he was born by mistake. Yutaka tells her he doesn't mind dying but asks what she'll do after. Aru suggests she might destroy the whole world. She explains she's serious since she's connected to the hole in the sky. To her surprise, Yutaka says that sounds good. He admits he's always wondered how it would feel to let go and wreck everything, and begins to laugh. Tears begin to drip from Aru's many eyes. Yutaka, confused, asks why. He asks her why she's crying. She replies that it's because this is the moment she's been waiting for, and it's so frustrating. She says she might have been born a mistake. Aru cries out, asking if that means she isn't allowed to find happiness. Yutaka repeats the word happiness, confused. He admits that he doesn't really know what the word even means. Aru begins to explain what happiness is. Aru describes happiness as being with people you love, going to fun places, eating delicious food and seeing beautiful things. Most importantly, she says, it's being able to smile with the person you love most in your final moments. Hearing this, Yutaka looks determined. He strains against her tendrils, declaring that in that case she can't let things end here. Aru tearfully asks Yutaka to stay with her. She believes that if he stops her from being lonely, she might be able to avoid destroying the world. Yutaka is taken aback, but his expression softens. He replies that he doesn't care about the world and has been waiting for the apocalypse, but still. He gently wipes away her tears, telling her that a girl crying for the end of the world is no good. Aru asks if he's sure he's okay with someone like her. Yutaka looks at her intently, stating, "It's you I want." He is stunned by his own confession. Aru tells him he has to do his best to protect the world. Yutaka agrees, promising that at the very least, he won't abandon her. She asks that it be just the two of them. Yutaka gently holds Aru's face and tells her not to cry anymore. As they walk out of the school together, he thinks to himself that he now understands why he was so drawn to her. He realizes it's because she was already hurt, just like him. Yutaka muses that it sounds like they're just licking each other's wounds. Aru reframes it, saying it means they can be kind to each other. Yutaka is left speechless. She then tells him she thinks she'll probably come to like him a lot. He replies that it sounds like something he's not prepared for. Looking up at the hole in the sky, Yutaka suggests they find happiness together. Back in the present, the chairman notes that Aru has become more stable, but that it's only buying them time, as the end will eventually come. The chairman asks if the plan is proceeding smoothly. The janitor confirms that it's going fairly well. He reports that the two seem into each other, which the chairman calls excellent. Their best-case scenario is for Yutaka to buy time while they find a countermeasure for the foreign bodies. However, the chairman contemplates a path with higher feasibility. The chairman reveals a more cynical plan. Ideally, Aru would take her own life for the sake of the man she loves. The janitor doubts that self-sacrifice suits Aru and questions if Yutaka can make her fall that deeply in love with him. The chairman simply states her belief. She has faith in the power of love, as the fate of the two lovers hangs in the balance. As Aru and Yutaka walk together, she muses that their date will be a low-budget affair, which Yutaka notes sounds rough. Yutaka asks if she receives money from the immune system, referring to it as a research cooperation fee. Aru explains she only gets a small amount for things like health exams, as her mother would get suspicious of anything more. Yutaka dryly comments that she'd probably just waste it anyway. She adds that she wanted a part-time job, but her handler, Sato, vetoed the idea to limit the number of places needing monitoring. Aru turns the tables, asking if Yutaka is also getting paid for the job of dating her. He admits he is, though he feels guilty about turning their relationship into a monetary transaction, even if the money helps. Aru suddenly has a realization: if their dates are business, then they can count as an expense, allowing them to splurge. Yutaka immediately shuts the idea down. A van pulls up, and Yutaka recognizes the driver as the janitor from the organization. He wonders if something is happening just as his phone buzzes. It's a message from Sato, warning him that a tumor has formed nearby and to keep Aru away. Yutaka quickly replies. Heeding the warning, he steers them towards a department store. They sit together on a display couch, taking a break from browsing. Aru gets excited about a king-sized bed, admitting she's always dreamed of having one, though Yutaka is skeptical about where it would fit. Aru daydreams aloud that they'll start in a small apartment together, making Yutaka blush at the thought of them living together. Yutaka is taken aback by Aru's sudden life planning. She continues, suggesting they could live together after university, while Yutaka adds that they could move into a big house later on. Aru then smiles and says she wants to have at least 2 kids, asking what he thinks. The suggestion leaves Yutaka completely stunned. Yutaka struggles to process the idea, telling a curious Aru that he just can't get his head around it. His mind wanders to whether Aru's unique body is even capable of having children. Aru, sensing his thoughts, playfully accuses him of thinking something dirty, which he vehemently denies. To change the subject, a blushing Yutaka points out a nearby dog park and Aru's attention is immediately captured. Aru happily declares she wants pets, maybe a dog and a cat when they get their big house. But as she approaches the dog park fence, the dogs inside begin barking and growling aggressively at her. Aru is shocked by their reaction, while Yutaka wryly notes they'd have to find an animal that isn't scared of her first. He suggests they head home. Suddenly, a public address system blares a foreign body alert. The announcement warns that a large, foreignized creature has escaped, and Yutaka realizes with dread that this must be what Sato warned him about. The people around them begin to chatter nervously, and Yutaka suggests they find a shop to hide in for now. But both he and Aru stop in their tracks, sensing something. Looming over the buildings is a colossal, shadowy creature with multiple tendrils. Both Aru and Yutaka stare up in shock, with Yutaka managing to gasp out how huge it is. The crowd panics, screaming and running from the monster. An official vehicle from the Universal Immune System arrives, broadcasting instructions to remain calm and not provoke the creature. Yutaka urges Aru to get out of there with him. He sees a dangerous glint in her eye and asks what she's thinking. She wonders aloud if they would get extra pocket money from the system if they caught it. Aru confidently strides toward the creature. Ignoring Yutaka's protests about the danger, she assures him it will be fine. Yutaka retorts that she'll also need to protect him from Sato's inevitable lecture, a responsibility Aru cheerfully declines. As they get closer, the creature looms over 2 terrified schoolgirls. The monster simply moves past the girls, seemingly uninterested. Yutaka is relieved it doesn't seem to care about humans, and Aru points this out as proof that it's not dangerous. He observes that it's surprisingly nimble, avoiding buildings and cars. He confirms with Aru that it must be an animal that was affected by a foreign body. As the creature lets out a massive yawn, Yutaka believes he knows what it was originally. Yutaka realizes the creature is a cat. Upon hearing this, Aru's eyes light up with excitement. She hugs Yutaka, exclaiming that cats are great. She turns to him with a grin, announcing she has a great idea. On the phone, an irate Sato demands to know why they're still in the danger zone. Yutaka tries to shift the blame to Aru. Sato insists he get Aru away from the foreign body immediately. He explains that Aru is busy playing with the giant cat right now. Yutaka returns to find Aru playfully slapping at the giant cat, who greets him. He apprehensively confirms that she is, in fact, playing. She asks if he got the treats, and he confirms he did. Yutaka holds up the cat treats. Aru admits she's always wanted to try these, and Yutaka realizes she just wanted an excuse as he skeptically opens the packet. Before Yutaka can offer the treat, the giant cat lunges toward him. He is pulled off his feet. Its massive, gooey tendrils wrap around him as he cries out in alarm. Aru leaps onto the creature's back, commanding it not to eat Yutaka. The beast immediately stops, dropping him. Yutaka, annoyed, points out she could have restrained it the whole time without luring it, but Aru says that wouldn't have been fun. She's delighted to have finally found a little guy who will actually play with her. Unseen by the pair, UIS snipers have them in their sights from a nearby rooftop. A spotter confirms the target's movement has stopped. Through the scope, the sniper is given the order to fire. The trigger is pulled. Aru's eyes widen as she senses the imminent danger. A chill runs down her spine. A high-caliber round screams through the air, aimed directly at the creature's head. With a loud clang, Aru throws herself in front of the creature, intercepting the bullet. Her arm transforms into a jagged black shield, which shatters on impact. Yutaka calls out her name in alarm. The UIS team is stunned that their antimaterial rifle failed, realizing Hoshina Aru intervened. Aru, her arm still transformed, calmly points out the 2 agents on the rooftop. She identifies more agents in the surrounding buildings. She deduces their forward base must be located somewhere behind them. Aru's voice turns cold as she confronts the hidden soldiers, asking if they were trying to kill her new friend. The soldiers shudder at her words. Her transformed arm cracks with power as she declares that killing something innocent is wrong. With a menacing look, she states that she has no patience when it comes to bad guys. Yutaka calls out to Aru. He tells her she's scaring the cat, which is now trembling before him. Hearing Yutaka's voice, Aru's rage subsides and she turns back toward him. Yutaka points out that she finally found an animal that isn't afraid of her. He adds that her anger is now making it tremble. The giant cat flinches as Aru kneels, holding out her hand and apologizing, assuring it that she isn't mad. The creature cautiously sniffs her outstretched hand. The creature gently rubs its head against Aru. She looks up with a blush of pure joy. Aru excitedly declares to a disbelieving Yutaka that she's keeping it. She asks the cat if it can turn back to its original kitty size, calling it a good little guy. Amazingly, the giant cat begins to shrink down to the size of a normal house cat. Aru is overjoyed, while Yutaka can hardly believe his eyes. She excitedly tells him to hurry and give it the treats as a reward. As she feeds her new pet, she happily proclaims that finding such a good kitty is a huge step forward in her happiness plan. Yutaka can only think about the fact that it's a cat that could grow giant again at any moment. With the cat happily eating, Aru declares that any place they get together must now be pet-friendly. She smiles at being destined to destroy the world, casually talking about the future. Yutaka reminds her that the creature is supposed to go to the system labs, but Aru asks if she can just take it home instead. The scene is set at Kajiba General Hospital. Inside, signs point towards the radiology and foreign body surgical departments. The young exorcist Haruki Kitakuji tends to a patient, a boy with a demonic horn. She performs a ritual over the boy's head and gently asks him about his pain. The boy thanks Haruki, telling her he feels much better now. Haruki listens intently as the boy hesitates, admitting that while nothing hurts, there is something on his mind. He touches the horn on his head and asks if it will ever come off. He explains that while he wants to stay at his current school, his teacher suggested it might be better for him to transfer to a special school. The boy pulls up his hood, lamenting that if not for the day of onset, he would have been normal. Haruki listens with a somber expression. She apologizes, admitting that there is nothing they can do for him at the moment. She explains that foreign bodies are being researched all over the world by doctors and practitioners like herself. With determination, she promises they will find a cure someday and asks him to wait for them. Her attendant praises her for a job well done as they leave the hospital. In the car, the attendant briefs Haruki on her next task, repairing a barrier around a tumor in Chu ward. The attendant also hands her a report for an upcoming exorcism ceremony, which Haruki begins to review. Haruki insists that as the heir to her family, she cannot neglect her studies, even when offered a day off from school. As they drive away, Haruki watches other patients leaving the hospital. Haruki reflects on the widespread suffering caused by emerging foreign bodies. She believes they must do something about the root cause of it all. Her attendant interrupts her thoughts with a message from her father. The message is a direct order: do not get any more involved with Hoshina Aru. Haruki questions whether her father truly expects her to obey such a command. She privately resolves that as a Kitakoji, she cannot avoid confronting Aru. A fracture appears in the sky above a modern building. Inside a lab, a professor tells Aru she can go home for the day. Aru protests, insisting she's still playing with Courage, the small cat-like foreign body, while Yutaka looks on. The professor complains that they're already busy enough without Aru making a mess. To appease her, the professor offers Aru a karaoke coupon. Though she calls the woman a pushover, Aru accepts the bribe and excitedly tells Yutaka they're going to karaoke. She gives Courage a hug, promising to visit again soon. As they walk away, Aru happily tells Yutaka she has a whole list of songs she wants to sing. Aru shows Yutaka a pricey sweet shop on her phone, admitting she doesn't usually go but has heard their treats are amazing. She excitedly points out a massive dessert called the Pancake Castle Max, but Yutaka doubts the two of them could finish it. Aru suggests they invite someone else along, proposing that Yutaka bring one of his friends. Yutaka is left speechless by the suggestion. Aru confesses that while she enjoys having him to herself, she's a little worried about him. As they stand outside the school gates, Haruki Kitakuji approaches, stating she's been waiting for them. Aru points her out as the pretty exorcist girl, while Yutaka questions her presence. Haruki formally bows, apologizing for her previous visit. Aru scoffs, asking what she wants. Haruki clarifies that she didn't come to fight but to persuade her, leaving Aru confused. The two girls stare each other down in a tense silence. Aru breaks the silence, confirming the girl's name is Haruki. Then, with a bright smile, she suddenly asks if Haruki likes sweets. The abrupt change in topic leaves Haruki completely baffled, wondering what is happening. At the dessert shop, Aru laughs while taking a picture of the enormous pancake stack, calling anyone who orders it an idiot, to which Yutaka dryly agrees. Aru urges a hesitant Haruki to dig in too, while Yutaka prepares to eat. Haruki points out that they could have ordered individual portions, but Aru insists the giant stack is more fun. Haruki mutters to herself that she doesn't get it. Later at the karaoke bar, Haruki looks around the room curiously. Aru browses for a song on the tablet. She offers the first turn to Haruki, who politely declines. Aru correctly guesses that this is Haruki's first time at karaoke, which Haruki confirms. Aru bluntly asks if it's because Haruki doesn't have any friends either, causing Haruki to flinch in shock. Haruki defensively claims she's just too busy to get close to anyone. Aru interprets this as a yes, and says it's fine since Yutaka is the same, much to his chagrin. Aru then declares Yutaka the winner, since he has a girlfriend and tries to feed him, but he protests. Their bickering over their relationship status confuses Haruki, who asks if they're a couple or not. Haruki turns on Yutaka, asking if his level of intimacy is normal with women he's not dating, and Aru cheers her on. Suddenly, Yutaka notices something moving in his bag. Courage bursts out, much to Aru's delight. Aru assumes it's stowed away because it loves her so much. Yutaka panics that they'll be kicked out for having a cat, but Haruki questions if the creature even is a cat. Haruki suddenly recognizes the small creature as the giant foreign beast from before. Yutaka explains that Courage is a rare case that has adapted well to its foreign body, which Aru attributes to it being a genius cat. Relieved, Haruki says that's good, as it means she should be able to exorcise the foreign body without issue. Aru and Yutaka look at her in surprise. Aru is shocked, asking why she would want to do something like that. She argues that Courage is healthy, harmless, and adorable, so it's perfectly fine the way it is. Aru dismisses Haruki's offer as another persuasion attempt to make her human again. She reiterates that she doesn't want that, and questions if Haruki is even capable of such a feat. Haruki explains the vast difference between Courage's recent infection and Aru's lifelong condition. She admits that curing Aru is impossible now, but with Aru's cooperation, it could be possible. By combining science and her family's exorcism jutsu, she is certain she can make it a reality. Her goal is to save all who suffer from foreign bodies, including Aru herself. Haruki passionately declares that she is prepared to devote her entire life to this goal and asks Aru to believe in her. Aru stares, momentarily at a loss for words. Breaking the tension, Aru jokes to Yutaka that Haruki just proposed, earning a flustered rebuke. Aru then grows serious and asks Haruki if her dedication stems solely from her duty as an exorcist. She presses further, asking if that path truly makes her happy. Haruki answers with conviction that yes, without a doubt, her path makes her happy. Aru looks down, contemplating her response. She admits that Haruki's certainty ticks her off a bit. Aru abruptly gets up and leaves the room, saying she needs to powder her nose. Yutaka and Haruki are left in confused silence. Haruki worries to Yutaka that she seems to have made Aru angry again. Yutaka explains that he understands Aru's frustration, as they are both on the failed side when it comes to being born. Haruki asks him to clarify what he means by failed. Yutaka explains that while Aru may seem fine, her life is far from easy. Haruki then asks what the failure was in his case. Yutaka quietly reveals that his parents didn't want him and threw him away. Haruki is taken aback by his casual dismissal of being abandoned, but Yutaka insists it's not a big deal compared to Aru's situation. Haruki counters that not everyone is born into a happy place like she was. Yutaka confesses that as a kid, all he ever thought about was dying. A distraught Haruki begs him not to say such things. He reassures her that he's okay now because he met Aru. His heartfelt confession leaves Haruki deep in thought. Aru suddenly reappears in the doorway, startling Yutaka. She playfully accuses him of cheating on her red-handed, which he vehemently denies. Haruki addresses Aru seriously, stating that there's no such thing as being born a failure, and that includes her. Aru listens intently. She smirks, asking if Haruki is really saying that to the enemy of the world. Aru's demeanor shifts as she grins and wonders if Haruki is actually one of the good guys. She then tries to feed Haruki a piece of pancake, who shyly insists she can eat by herself. Aru gets pushy and Haruki pleads with Yutaka for help, but he advises her to just give up, explaining this is how Aru treats her friends. The word friends catches Haruki by surprise. Aru insists that their outing makes them friends, and again offers her a bite of pancake. Haruki's eyes well up with emotion. She finally accepts the bite of pancake from Aru. Satisfied, Aru asks what songs Haruki knows so they can sing together. The unlikely trio has fun at karaoke, with Aru and Haruki singing enthusiastically while Yutaka accompanies them on tambourine. Afterward, the three walk outside, full from all the food they ate. Yutaka groans that his stomach hurts, and Aru teases Haruki for her small appetite. Haruki calls out to Yutaka as he and Aru begin to walk away. She reflects that Yutaka was saved by Aru precisely because she is a foreign body. Yutaka announces that they are parting ways with Haruki here. Aru waves a cheerful goodbye to Haruki. Haruki raises her hand in a hesitant farewell. Haruki is struck by a terrifying vision of Aru's true, monstrous form, a giant hand with countless eyes. The vision leaves her shaken and wide-eyed. She watches Aru and Yutaka walk away, her mind reeling. She wonders if she could ever truly exorcise an existence like that, even if she devoted her entire life to it. Shaking off her doubt, Haruki resolves that this is precisely why she must act. She calls out to Aru, who turns to face her. Haruki declares that she still wants to help those suffering. And she adds she also wants Aru to find happiness. With renewed determination, Haruki vows that to that end, she will not give up on making her human. Aru grins and suggests they have a fight next time. Haruki smiles back, agreeing since they're friends after all. As she walks away, Haruki considers this promise to fight. She muses to herself that this must be the kind of thing friends do. Aru happily waves, telling her they should hang out again, cementing the strange boundary crossed between them. At the Japan HQ, a researcher presents a report on the fixed-point observation of holes that have appeared in the sky. The presenter, Ibhakes, addresses the assembly. She explains that the holes have been expanding for 6 years, with the pace accelerating recently. However, she reports that since April their expansion has suddenly stagnated, causing a stir among the attendees. A member of the assembly questions if maintaining the status quo could halt the growth of the Earth's tumors. Another member asks if there has been any change in the Type 0 hostile foreign body. A woman with an eye patch begins to respond. She chides them, noting that the subject is a pubescent girl susceptible to trivial influences. She reveals that in April, the girl started a relationship with a male student from her high school. The members express disbelief that the world's fate might hinge on a teenage romance. The assembly concludes it's a stroke of luck and suggests that Japan HQ maintain the current situation. Later, Ibhakes removes her headset, sighing in relief after the tense meeting. She wonders if it could really be so convenient that the world's erosion stopped just because the girl found a partner. A monitor shows that Aruchan's power as a foreign body is still growing. Ibhakes grimly concludes that this strain is bound to manifest itself somewhere else. During gym class, Yutaka Kuramori throws a ball with surprising force. His classmates watch in awe as the ball soars through the air. The teacher announces his distance of 41 meters, a perfect score. When asked if he played sports, Yutaka denies it, saying he's just been in good form, which the teacher chalks up to a growth spurt. The other students are amazed by his performance. Aru Hashino sprints with incredible speed, amazing her friends. Her classmates note that her time is faster than the boys' top scores, joking that she should go pro. Sato-san, her handler, pleads with her to keep her powers within the realm of common sense. Yutaka's friends tease him about his amazing girlfriend, but he flatly denies they're together. Just then, Aru approaches and calls out to Yutaka. Aru asks Yutaka if he minds if she hangs out with her friends after school instead of going home with him. Yutaka agrees, prompting his friends to tease him for not acting more disappointed. Aru then invites Sato-san to come along with her group. Sato-san declines, saying she has something else she needs to do, much to Aru's disappointment. Aru's friends note how close she is with Sato-san, and Aru happily agrees. Walking home by himself, Yutaka notes that it's been a while since he was alone. He realizes he has nothing to do. He decides to stop by the supermarket and cook for a change. As he walks through an alley, he is suddenly ambushed and his mouth is covered. Yutaka is shocked as he's dragged into the alley by multiple assailants. He is violently thrown to the ground. One of the attackers, holding a bat, warns him to be quiet. Struggling on the ground, Yutaka demands to know what they want. The attacker kicks him again, telling him to shut up. Even after being beaten, Yutaka continues to talk, surprising his attackers with his resilience. One of the attackers calls Yutaka a pain in the ass. He pulls a gun and presses it to Yutaka's head, asking if he understands the situation now. The attacker tells him to come along quietly to avoid being killed. Suddenly, Yutaka headbutts the gun, shocking the attacker. Yutaka glares at his captor, who calls him a bastard as he staggers back. Suddenly, two armed men appear, ordering the attackers to stop. They demand the attackers release the kid and put their hands up. Cursing, the lead attacker shoves Yutaka aside and makes a run for it. The rescuers shout for them to wait. One of the rescuers reports that the attackers fled towards the east side as Yutaka sits dazed on the ground. Sato-san rushes to Yutaka, asking if he is okay. He looks up and sees Sato-san running towards him with her teddy bear. Later, they sit on a park bench under a lamppost. Sato-san scolds him, asking what he was thinking, struggling when a gun was pointed at his head. Yutaka explains he figured they wouldn't kill him, as they likely wanted to use him to control Aru, but Sato-san insists that didn't guarantee his safety. Sato-san sarcastically thanks him for his vigilance in a dangerous area. Yutaka asks if he can go home now, but Sato-san flatly tells him he can't. She explains that units are searching for the attackers and a car will pick them up soon, so they will stay put. Yutaka protests that they don't need to spare manpower for him, but Sato-san hands him a drink. Sato-san angrily tells Yutaka that her concern isn't for his sake. She scolds him for not using his transmitter to call for help instead of acting recklessly, to which he apologizes. She rants that she doesn't care about him, but she worries about how sad Aru would be if he got hurt. To Sato-san, Aru's sadness would be the true end of the world, an infuriating reality. She then confronts him directly, asking if he's already decided to be Aru's boyfriend. Yutaka begins to deny being Aru's boyfriend again. He stops himself and simply apologizes. He reflects that his lack of fear of death is a bad habit he needs to fix. Sato-san tells him he should fix it for himself, regardless of Aru. She threatens to kill him herself if he's reckless again, a warning Yutaka takes seriously. Sato-san lets out an exasperated sigh. In another scene, Sato-san asks Aru what she sees in a guy like Yutaka. Aru's eyes light up, excited at the prospect of explaining. She eagerly wonders where to begin, while Sato-san internally groans, realizing her mistake. Aru begins to gush about his cute face, his height, and his small, protective gestures, while her friends listen with amusement. Yutaka observes that Sato-san seems to genuinely like Aru, despite only being with her for work. Sato-san tells him there's no need for honorifics just because she's older. Yutaka is surprised by the revelation that she is older than him. Sato-san sighs, regretting her slip-up, as she assumed Aru would have mentioned it. Yutaka asks how she can be older if they went to middle school with Aru. She admits that she did, explaining they used the system's authority to alter her age. Yutaka asks what she was doing before attending school with them. She admits that she wasn't going to school back then. She explains it was convenient to go back a year to start attending classes again, especially for university exams. Yutaka is taken aback by this revelation. He asks if she really thinks about the future and university, to which she replies that of course she does. Yutaka asks if she ever feels it's pointless to try, given that the world might end. Sato-san explains that many people felt that way during the initial onset and acted foolishly. She sees the apocalypse as a chance to surpass those who use it as an excuse to give up. A car pulls up nearby. Sato-san recognizes the license plate and announces their ride has arrived. A man in a suit approaches, confirming her name is Sato-san and apologizing for the wait. She questions why he's here instead of the usual security, and he blames it on being short-staffed. The man tells them he'll take them to headquarters and opens the car door. As the man opens the door, Yutaka notices a distinctive scar on his hand. He recognizes the hand that held the gun. Yutaka screams Sato-san's name in warning. Yutaka pushes the driver away, shouting for Sato-san to get away from him. The man quickly recovers, cocks his pistol and aims it directly at Sato-san. Yutaka curses as he sees the gun aimed at his handler. Without hesitation, Yutaka leaps in front of Sato-san to shield her from the gunshot. The gun fires multiple times, the sound echoing through the street. Sato-san watches in horror as Yutaka takes the bullets for her. Yutaka slumps to the pavement as the shooter stands over him. Sato-san stares in shock, whispering his name. The scene cuts to Aru talking with her friends. Aru smiles, saying Yutaka is cute, like a puppy with a "please take me in" sign on his neck. Sato-san kneels by Yutaka's side, calling his name. The shooter curses and flees, realizing a dead hostage is useless. As bystanders react to the gunshots, Sato-san calls for an ambulance. She leans over Yutaka, telling him to stay with her. He weakly tells her he's fine and it's not a big deal. Sato-san insists his wound is serious and tries to apply pressure, causing him to cry out. She stares in shock at what is happening. Yutaka lifts his shirt, looking down at his wound in disbelief. The bullet wound pulses and writhes as it grotesquely heals itself before their eyes. Aru's voice explains her desire to shower Yutaka with so much love that he can't live without her. Yutaka sits up, his wound now mysteriously gone, leaving him dazed. Aru's monologue concludes with her wanting to possess him completely, in his heart and in his body. The next day in class, Yutaka sits at his desk, lost in thought. He distractedly scratches an itch on his side. The teacher takes attendance and notices Aru Hoshina is absent. A classmate explains that Aru called in sick with a cold. His friend gives him a pitying look, assuming he didn't know. Yutaka knows there's no way Aru's absence is due to a simple cold. He recalls being brought to an office after the incident. Aru had burst in, frantically calling his name. She rushed to his side, demanding to know if he was okay after being shot, while he tried to calm her down. Yutaka lifts his shirt, revealing his completely healed abdomen, wondering how it was possible. Professor Ibe confirms the unbelievable recovery. She states that despite being shot twice, he has already healed, calling it unhuman. Aru places a hand on Yutaka's shoulder, as he notes his body feels like a foreign object. Aru's eyes widen in shock and concern. Sato-san demands an explanation from Professor Ibe about what is happening to Yutaka. Professor Ibe explains that a preliminary exam shows an abnormal number of foreign bodies inside him. Sato-san asks for the cause, and the professor notes the levels are unexpectedly high, beyond what simply spending time with Aru would explain. She connects this to the slowing expansion of the holes in the sky, suspecting the encroachment has found a new target. Sato-san realizes with horror that instead of the world, the focus is now on Yutaka. Professor Ibe turns to Aru, asking if she was aware. Aru quietly replies that she does not know. She then amends her answer, admitting that she might have been aware on some level. Yutaka hesitantly asks a question. He wonders if Aru's influence has somehow made him immortal, but Professor Ibe immediately refutes the idea. She grimly tells him that the reality is the complete opposite. The foreign bodies are poisonous, but because they healed him, they are now bound to him. She delivers the devastating news: he should assume his lifespan has been greatly reduced. Yutaka asks for specifics about his remaining lifespan. Professor Ibe admits she doesn't have enough data for a precise answer, guessing it could be anywhere from 5 to 20 years. However, she adds a grave condition. If he continues to stay with Aru, it wouldn't be strange if he only had 2 or 3 years left. The words echo in Yutaka's mind as he stares in shock. The three of them stand in the quiet office, the weight of the diagnosis hanging in the air. Sato-san asks if the foreign bodies can be removed, but the professor says it is impossible. The professor's only advice is for Yutaka to stop being around Aru. Hearing this, Aru quietly announces she is going home and turns to leave. Yutaka tries to stop her, offering to walk her back. Aru rejects his offer, insisting she will go home by herself. The words 2 or 3 years echo in Yutaka's mind as he watches the sky. He sits alone outside where Aru would normally be. He wonders if she's not there because she's worried about him. A classmate comments on his lonely state, unable to see the reason for it. Yutaka sinks into self-doubt, wondering if Aru has fallen out of love with him. He approaches Sato-san, suggesting that it might be fine for him to quit being with Aru. He finds Sato-san looking out a window. Sato-san lays out the grim reality: his life is in danger and being with Aru will shorten it. Yutaka counters, questioning if a system member should suggest he abandon his post when the world is at stake. Sato-san admits that telling him to sacrifice himself for the world is absurd. Yutaka reminds her of her previous words, but she clarifies she meant for him to stop being reckless. She reminds him that he has his own life to live and precious things to protect. Yutaka listens, his expression troubled. Sato-san looks at him earnestly. She insists there must be happiness for him that doesn't involve Aru. She pleads with him to listen and stay away from Aru. Yutaka remains silent, contemplating her words. Professor Ibe concludes her report to the chairman. She states that they must separate Yutaka from Aru for his own safety. The chairman flatly refuses the proposition. She explains that Aru's resulting mental instability would cause even greater disasters. The professor adds that if Yutaka died, Aru would likely destroy the world instantly. The chairman presents their impossible choice, an apocalypse if they're together or an apocalypse if they're apart. She concludes that since the outcome is uncertain either way, it is more rational to keep them together. Professor Ibe questions what is rational about their situation. She argues that forcing this burden on children is wrong, especially since they know the fatal consequences of foreign bodies. She insists they must hurry and find a way to neutralize the foreign bodies. Professor Ibe excuses herself and leaves the chairman's office. The man on the video call remarks that Professor Ibe is surprisingly nice. He admits he always thought she was more cold-hearted. The chairman smiles, certain the professor will now dedicate herself even more to her research. The man asks if they should start preparing a successor for Yutaka, given the limited time. The chairman states that she believes Yutaka is now irreplaceable. The chairman believes the situation works out perfectly, calling Yutaka's short lifespan wonderfully tragic. She sees it as the perfect push to make Aru sacrifice her own life. She declares that if it saves the world, she will gladly play the villain. As Yutaka returns to his dorm, he is spotted by two familiar faces. The two agents who rescued him before call out his name. Yutaka realizes they must be system personnel to be in the dorms. They approach him, asking if he is okay after hearing he was shot. Yutaka recognizes the two men who saved him the day before. He tries to downplay his injury, much to their relief. Suddenly, both men bow deeply, apologizing to him. They lament that they were supposed to be protecting him. Yutaka insists it was his own fault, claiming he's not someone who needs protection. The agents insist that someone in his position deserves to be protected, especially given his age. Yutaka is touched by their sincerity. One of the agents offers to buy him dinner as an apology. Just then, an alert sounds on their devices, signaling a tumor formation. The alert specifies a class, a hostile foreign body is suspected on site. Yutaka immediately knows this involves Aru. Receiving their orders, the agents apologize to Yutaka and prepare to leave. Yutaka pleads with them to wait. He makes a snap decision, declaring that he's coming with them. As he runs for their vehicle, Sato-san calls out to him. She runs after him, asking if he's really going to Aru. Yutaka stops, surprised to see her. Sato-san gives Yutaka one last chance to turn back from his decision. Yutaka reflects that he feels bad that others seem to value his life more than he does. He apologizes to Sato-san, but firmly states that he is going. Sato-san sighs in resignation. She declares that she's coming too, telling him he can regret it later. At the scene of the attack, Aru unleashes her fury. She asks her defeated attackers if they really thought she would let them get away with harming Yutaka. One of them begs for mercy. Her answer is a simple, cold no. She declares that she is extremely pissed off. The highway is a scene of chaos, with sirens wailing as emergency crews arrive. An onlooker can only remark on how terrible the situation is. An officer orders his team to evacuate casualties and lock down the perimeter due to the risk of collapse. Another agent reports that a Type O has been sighted. Aru stands on the ruined highway, transformed into a monstrous figure wreathed in dark tendrils. Her eyes glow menacingly from within the shadows. Sato-san looks on in disbelief, questioning if that is really Aru. Yutaka arrives and runs straight for her, calling her name. He looks at her monstrous form and sighs, "Oh man." Yutaka confronts the monstrous Aru, casually asking why she skipped school. She softly says his name, Yutaka. He calmly points out that she's leaking tentacles more than usual. She asks if he is not afraid of her, to which he asks why she would ask that now. She explains it is because being with her puts his life in danger. She tells him she took care of the bad guys to make sure he wouldn't get hurt. With tears in her eyes, Aru pleads with Yutaka not to say he can't be with her. Yutaka listens intently. He reassures her, stating that he never once thought about leaving her. He tells her the answer should be obvious. He asks what the point of a long life would be without her, declaring he would rather have 2 or 3 years with her. Aru is moved by his confession. She pulls him closer, asking him to tell her more, much to his surprise. He reminds her of his promise not to leave her alone, and that he plans on keeping it. Aru chides him for not texting back, admitting she was worried he didn't need her anymore. Yutaka claims he was busy beating up the attackers. Yutaka questions her choice of words, wondering if the men are even still alive. He sighs, resigning himself to staying by her side to keep an eye on her. Aru smiles, telling him that he is right, and that he should not take his eyes off her for a single second. Sato-san and the agents can only watch from a distance. She pulls him into a tight embrace, her dark tendrils wrapping around them both. Sato-san watches the scene unfold. With sirens still audible, the city skyline looms in the background. Aru scoops Yutaka into her arms, telling him to hold on tight. She leaps effortlessly to the top of a highway sign, carrying him with her. From their perch high above the city, Aru holds Yutaka and exclaims how pretty the view is. Yutaka tells her to sit, and he joins her on the narrow beam. They sit together, looking out at the night skyline. Yutaka begins to speak, his expression serious. Aru notes that his injuries heal like hers now, and says she's happy his body is starting to resemble her own. She quickly apologizes for her comment. Yutaka tells her it is fine. He then asks her a heavy question: when he dies in a few years, will she destroy the world? Aru confirms without a doubt that she will destroy the world, unable to bear the grief. Yutaka asks what she will do and if she could survive in the other world. She immediately says no. She explains she cannot go on living in a place where none of the people she loves are around. Aru concludes that when Yutaka's time comes, she will end everything as well. Yutaka is left speechless by her declaration. Seeing his expression, she tells him not to make a sad face. She pulls him closer, suggesting they just be happy together until the end. No matter how it happens, the world truly has no future. Yutaka contemplates the future. He will die, Aru will die, and everyone else will die. He questions if this fate is truly sealed. He wonders if there is really no other path for them, but knows that unreasonably, yet equally, the ending has already been decided. Aru Hoshino suddenly remembered a powerful wish she made long before she was born. In her classroom on July 7th, she quietly holds a Tanabata strip, pondering what to write. Her classmates discuss more trivial wishes, like wanting a new video game. One boy proudly announces it's his birthday, and he's getting the game today, much to his friend's envy. A studious classmate reminds everyone that Tanabata wishes are meant for more than just material things. Aru rests her head on her desk, explaining that while the memory was once vague, it's becoming clearer now, as if she's about to remember it. Yutaka asks her about the feeling, recalling she's mentioned having memories from before she was born. Aru denies this, stating that her memory is from a time long before that. Another friend wonders if it's something spiritual, but Aru insists she's not lying. A classmate wishes to get better at sports, saying if he were as talented as Aru, he'd be the team's ace. The idea of someone wanting to be like her resonates deeply within Aru. She abruptly stands up, exclaiming, "That's it," startling her classmates. Feeling a sense of clarity, Aru declares that she now remembers her wish. Looking at her classmates, Aru reveals her profound and unsettling wish to make everyone just like her. Yutaka looks towards her, his expression filled with concern. Aru seems lost in her own world, a faint smile on her face. The teacher calls on Aru by her last name, Hoshino, trying to get her attention. Aru silently muses that unlike the seasons, the hour of death follows no appointed order. As a dark fissure appears in the sky, she thinks to herself that it was a close call. The stars are high and distant, simply drifting on. Summer is in pursuit. As summer arrives, a strange object is seen streaking across the sky. Yutaka and Aru sit together at an outdoor table. Aru happily confirms that her birthday is indeed coming up on Tanabata. Yutaka sips his drink, gathering the courage to ask his question. He asks Aru if there's anything she wants, and she playfully chides him for his lack of subtlety. Aru admits there are plenty of things she could wish for, like cameras, games, or sweets. She leans in and tells Yutaka that right now, she just wants whatever he wants. Yutaka is left completely baffled by her answer. She explains that anything he wants is fine with her. With a bright smile, she adds that he should just get her the same thing so they can match. Yutaka complains that her request makes things harder, while Aru eagerly anticipates their date. Aru excitedly suggests they go on a date that day since they don't have school. Yutaka quietly agrees. Walking through the city, Yutaka notices a banner for a Tanabata memorial service. The narration explains that 6 years ago on July 7th, the day of onset, holes opened in the sky. At 2:02 p.m., a tumor formed over Kajiba First Elementary School. 9 minutes later, the school was completely engulfed by the tumor. The tumor grew to a 2-kilometer radius over 5 hours. Eventually, the epicenter contracted and was sealed off, where it remains to this day. The tragedy claimed 617 lives, primarily students and staff from the elementary school. Yutaka seems hesitant about their outing. Aru, noticing his hesitation, asks if he plans on attending the memorial service. Yutaka asks Aru if she's going to the service, but she replies that she has no reason to. He suggests she might have known many of the victims, and she confirms this was the case. Aru then asks rhetorically if it wouldn't be strange for her to attend, considering she was the cause of the tragedy. Yutaka is at a loss for words. He silently wonders how Aru truly feels about those who died and the immense burden she carries. Yutaka decides that if Aru has found a way to move on, he shouldn't interfere. They arrive at the site of the floating lantern ceremony, noting that the setup is already finished. By the water's edge, a lone girl kneels, preparing to release a flower into the current. She gently places a white chrysanthemum into the water. Aru observes that the girl is quite keen. Yutaka and Aru watch as the girl stands on the wooden walkway. The girl, Yuriko, turns and recognizes Aru, calling her by her childhood nickname, Ah-chan. Aru stares back in shock, realizing it's her old friend Yuriko. As they walk together, Yuriko explains she came to pay her respects early because she can't stand crowds. Yuriko greets Aru, saying it's been a long time. Aru expresses her surprise, admitting she had no idea they were schoolmates. Yuriko says it's understandable, as she's grown taller and her last name has changed to Fukami. Yuriko says that Aru, on the other hand, stands out so much that she recognized her immediately. Yuriko explains that she was sick in April, so she missed her chance to approach Aru. Aru turns to formally introduce Yutaka. She tells Yutaka that Yuriko was her classmate in 4th grade, 6 years ago. Yuriko gravely adds that she and Aru were the only 4th grade survivors of the incident. Yutaka is stunned to learn this. Yuriko explains she was lucky to be in the nurse's office at the time, and Yutaka expresses his sympathy. She insists her experience was nothing compared to what Aru went through in the classroom. The official story was that a single female student was rescued and miraculously recovered after months of treatment. Aru interjects, complaining that in reality, she was locked up by the system for months of constant experiments. Changing the subject, Aru introduces Yutaka as her boyfriend, but Yuriko says she already knows of him, calling him a celebrity due to his association with Aru. Yuriko suggests they write on Tanzaku strips for the memorial service. She returns with strips for all of them, and Yutaka accepts one. The instructions ask for condolences or prayers for peace. Yutaka decides he'll just write something generic. Aru playfully teases Yuriko, remarking on how much she's grown up. They reminisce about their childhood, with Aru claiming Yuriko was a tiny tag-along, while Yuriko insists Aru always left her behind. Yutaka chimes in, teasing that he can picture Aru as a bossy kid, and Yuriko agrees. Yuriko giggles at their shared memories. The mood shifts as Aru earnestly asks Yuriko if she has truly been okay. Yuriko confesses that she still thinks about that day all the time. She constantly wonders why she was the one who survived. She tells Aru that her survival made sense because Aru was always special and cool. However, she struggles to understand her own fate. She reflects that there were so many other children who were kinder and smarter, yet they all perished. Yuriko continues to express her survivor's guilt, wondering why she is the one who is still alive. Aru abruptly interrupts her, insisting she can't think that way. Looking at Yuriko and Yutaka, Aru declares that Yuriko looks happy. Aru falls silent, her own feelings hidden behind a thoughtful expression. Aru earnestly tells Yuriko that she too has every right to find happiness. Yuriko smiles, seemingly moved by Aru's words. Yuriko shows that she has finished writing her wish and asks Aru what she wrote. Aru pauses, then says she will pass because she can't think of anything to write. She turns to return the blank Tanzaku strip. Yutaka looks at his own Tanzaku, which reads, "May no more disasters occur," and thinks he should have returned his as well. He awkwardly comments on the situation to Yuriko. Yuriko apologizes to Yutaka for intruding. She then changes the subject, asking a very personal question. She asks Yutaka whether he or Aru was the one to confess first, leaving him completely flustered. Startled by the question, Yutaka loses his grip on his Tanzaku as a gust of wind blows past. Yuriko laughs and tells a flustered Yutaka not to panic over her sudden question. As he retrieves the slip of paper, she explains that she was just surprised that Aro has a boyfriend. Her expression hardens as she adds that she never imagined someone who killed their classmates and teachers could find a lover. Yutaka freezes, turning to her in shock and demanding to know what she just said. Yuriko coldly states that Aro is not a tragic survivor, but the cause of everything that happened, and that she is not even human. Yutaka wonders how a normal person like her could know such things. She tells Yutaka she feels sorry for him for not even knowing his girlfriend's true nature. Yutaka looks her dead in the eye and states firmly that he knows exactly what Aro is. Yuriko is taken aback, expressing her amazement that he can still be with Aro knowing the truth. Yuriko presses further, revealing she knows that Yutaka's mother died during the day of onset. Stunned and enraged, Yutaka demands to know who she really is. He questions her motives for getting close to Aro after all this time. Yuriko's gaze is cold as she declares that Aro needs to atone for what she did. She believes Aro shouldn't be allowed to live happily after killing so many people and must face the consequences of her choices. Yuriko declares that she is the only one who can guide Aro down the correct path of atonement. She looks directly at Yutaka and tells him that he is in her way. Aro returns at that moment, oblivious to the tense confrontation. She asks Yuriko if they should get going. Yuriko simply agrees, her calm demeanor hiding the threat she just made. Yuriko hangs her completed tanzaku on the bamboo branch. Her message reads, "We will never forget any of you." Aro and Yutaka watch as Yuriko waves goodbye to them. As they leave, Aro muses that Yuriko thinks of her as just another survivor. Aro feels a twinge of guilt for deceiving her but keeps it to herself. Walking beside Yutaka, Aro says she's still glad she was able to see Yuriko again. Yutaka internally decides it's better if Aro remains ignorant of Yuriko's true intentions. He vows that he won't let anyone who wants to hurt Aro get near her. With grim determination, Yutaka decides he will protect Aro from Yuriko. 6 years ago, a boy